Welcome to Connecting with Corinne, the podcast where I help you find your community one story and connection at a time. I'm your host, Corinne, and each week I explore inspiring conversations that connect us to the world around us, spark new ideas, and help build stronger, more meaningful connections, whether it's through personal stories, thought-provoking discussions, or shared experiences. We're here to bring diverse perspectives to the table, so let's dive in and start. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Connecting with Corinne. We are in season 2, and I am here with my guest, Jill Novak, today. Hi, Jill, how are you?
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So, I always like to start off with how I know my guests. So, Jill and I have known each other off and on for quite a few years now. We met through the yoga community in Cochrane, and I know you've been doing some amazing things, and we taught at Spray Lakes together for a little bit. And I don't think neither of us are there anymore, but you're doing some other things. And I can't wait to hear more about what you are offering. But that's how I do know Jill, is that I've known her through Cochrane Community Yoga for quite a few years now. And I know you're an amazing instructor and
I feel
a
like
very
that,
awesome person to learn from. So just tell us a little bit more about yourself, Jill.
yeah, I feel like it's probably been at least 10 years that you and I have known each other. And when you are in the yoga community, your other yoga teachers become so important to you because they speak your language. They're part of your tribe that sort of understands you with a lens that people outside of the yoga community don't necessarily understand you. Plus, we support each other so much in teaching each other's classes when we need subs and things like that, just so that we can always have someone to be able to show up for the guests and the clients that are in the class. So we do sort of get to be a little bit of a tight-knit community when we are all yoga teachers together.
Yeah. And I love that. And that's when I saw you, I was like, oh, you have to come on. Because I know you're teaching a yoga teacher training and you've gone into Ayurvedics a while ago. And I just think it's amazing. And I don't know too much about it, but let's just dive in. So tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Okay. We're celebrating almost 15 years right now of being a yoga teacher. And I think when I stepped into the seat of yoga teacher, it was at a pivotal moment in my life when I really needed to reclaim my autonomy and take responsibility for the direction of my life and find a voice, stop people pleasing. There was some health stuff happening with me that really was a pivotal moment where yoga came in to give me a new set of tools to navigate with, to use to help me make decisions. And that first yoga teacher training led me then to yoga therapy and dropped me into Ayurveda, like you said. And this year, my partner in yoga teacher training, Jody DeCastro, and I will be offering our third yoga teacher training course. So it feels like it has come full circle because the 200-hour yoga teacher training that sort of set me on this path is now something that I get to offer to other people.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So what do people learn in your yoga teacher training?
Oh, man. In my yoga teacher training and in all of my courses, the essential part to me is this word dharma that comes up when we start learning yoga, and it means life purpose. And the concept in yoga, like we hear the word namaste being bantered around, and it means the light in me recognizes and honors the light in you. And so, really, the core piece of everything I do is the fact that there is a light in you and there's a light in me. And as I have gone about sort of shining the glass around that light so that it can shine brighter in myself, I've learned a few tools to help other people do the same. And everything in the yoga teacher training is around how can we give you the skills to shine your light? How can we help you feel and find out what's authentic inside of you that wants to have a voice, that wants to have a platform? And use this seat of the teacher to allow you to create that platform. And I don't know if you find this, but the seat of the yoga teacher is a beautiful place to hone your voice, to practice the words, and sometimes even to hear them to hear yourself speak the words and go, man, I didn't know even that was going to come out, or I didn't know that's how I thought. But it's a really powerful place of transformation. Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you find that
Totally.
as a teacher?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm finding now as a teacher, I've evolved to a place where I really focus more on like more the function of things.
Okay.
So for myself, when I'm teaching even Tadasana, I say to people, how do you feel in your feet? And I get them to close their eyes and I say to them, stand, just stand, regular standing, close your eyes. And I'll say to them, what do you feel? Do you feel that feeling of moving forward and back? And then I say to them, okay, open your eyes. And then I'll say to them, grip your feet to the floor. Use those feet muscles. And then I'll say to them, close your eyes again. And then see how that feels. And then we work our way up to the leg muscles and the glutes. And because here's the thing, I see so many people who are doing balancing poses and knees are bent, things are happening. You hear it right or wrong. You hear instructors will say to people, like, lock your knee, right? And
Yeah.
that's not necessarily what the instructor means, but when they say lock your knee, then people are like, well, I'll just shoot my knee back. I'm like, no, that's not good for your knee, right? What they're meaning is engage those leg muscles, but people don't, you don't say that to people, right? You're saying you lock the knee, so people don't understand what that means. So I say to people, well, squeeze your glutes. Imagine you have a marble between your butt cheeks, hold that marble. And
Yeah.
then people feel solid. And then I say to them, okay, now we've opened our eyes. And this takes 5 minutes to do this whole little Tadasana practice. And then I say, okay, now we are going to go on one leg, stork. And they don't realize how much harder it is. And it's hard because, like, I'll do it with them. And I'm like, everything is shaking. And I said, this is yoga. This is
Yeah.
now yoga because now we're connecting our mind, our muscles, our body. Everything is connected. Whereas before, you're like, I can do a balancing pose with a knee bent and look at me. I can do stork or whatever with a bent knee and I can balance, but that's not great for my joints. What is it that I'm intentionally trying to say to people? Because when you say things like lock your knee or some of these cues that we were originally taught in a yoga class or teacher training, if it was like Hot 20, because my background was Hot 26. In the Hot 26, they say a lot of things, and that's not necessarily what they mean.
Mm.
And you might have to use more words. Then do this, do that, do this, do that. We actually might have to use more words to have that mind body connection so that people are able to do this properly. So that's kind of how I've evolved my yoga from do this, do that, do this, do that to I'm watching people and people come to me and they're like, my back hurts, my knees hurt. And I'm like, your back shouldn't hurt in yoga. Well, I'm doing a back bend. Okay, let me see your back bend. And then you see their back bend and all they're doing is just pushing their hips forward, back's going. And I'm like, of course your back's gonna hurt. That does not feel good. You need to lift, you need to like lengthen first and then start to go back. And so it's starting to learn a little bit more about, I think, the anatomy, but then also just like what is our intention with these poses and how do we want people to get into them and out of them? And then we might have to use, like I said, use more words and to also practice because it's like I can say how it feels in my body. And so that's how I articulate things now, if that makes sense. So I
It
know that
does.
was long-winded, but that's really how I use my words and my intention behind my classes now because I've seen it where we can backbend and I can tell you how to get into a camel, but then I see people doing all sorts of weird things. And then people come to me and they're like, I don't like camel. Okay, why don't you like camel? Let's see your camel. And then I see their camel. No wonder you don't like camel. Or they go camel right into a tortoise or back bend to forward bend right away. And I'm like, yeah, no wonder your blood's going from your head. Now you're going like, you know what I mean? You're going forward and back. And of course you're not going to like that. Take a break. Well, my instructor's not giving us a break. Okay, that's fair. I just am very mindful of how I feel in a class. And if that doesn't feel good for me, I don't want to be teaching that to people because that won't feel good to them.
Yeah.
So it's having that awareness piece, the mind, like that mind body awareness piece, but then also articulating it to my students. So, yeah, again, sorry, long-winded, but that's really how I am teaching now.
I think you're hitting on something that's important, and that is that many of us in the yoga teacher space, teacher training, teacher space have been taught how to instruct how the pose should look. And the way you're speaking right now is how to instruct how the pose should feel. And we are moving to a more embodied function. So you said I teach to form, and form follows function. Like it's just this idea that we want to set the intention to bring people into the feeling experience of the pose. Because when they're in the feeling experience of the pose, their breath will tell them, hey, don't go that far because if you keep going, your back will hurt. Or if they pay attention to their body, they'll feel something before they get to pain. And they can use their yoga practice to understand where their zone of safety is in a pose because there's so many internal cues that your body gives to you. And so it sounds like you're doing what most of us in the yoga teachers training space are noticing is that we don't want to teach to what the pose should look like anymore. We want to teach what the pose should feel like in your body. And yes, sometimes we have to slow it down. Sometimes we have to sort of expand it out because what you're speaking of when you're taking 5 minutes to like feel your feet, grip your toes, feel your feet again is embodied. So when we banter around this word embodied now all the time, it's this idea of an awareness of the sensation. It's an awareness of the posture, the way breath flows in the posture, the strength that's rising in the posture, where that strength is coming from. And perhaps you'd notice too compensations. You'd notice tightness and gripping. You'll notice it can even be the emotions of inside the pose. What emotions are happening there? What's your intuition saying to you about where's your edge? And to be able to be in a place when you're on a yoga mat where you get to articulate that awareness. I feel like in the space of teacher, I'm always practicing. How can I use my words to help people find this embodied experience? And the more I get better at using my words to find the embodied experience in me, the more I can share it. So maybe I said that wrong. The more I know and can understand how it feels in me, the
Mm.
better I am at articulating to help someone else facilitate it in themselves.
Yes.
That's what our yoga teacher training is about. So, first of all, we want to help you find the embodied experience because there's something about that embodied experience feels connected and solid and grounded. And there's, if you think about Kundalini, there's an energetics to it, like there's a sensation of just, it feels juicy. I use that word a lot. It feels delicious. There's a plumpness and an assuredness to it. And then when you find that and you move from that place, there's power in that. And what we're trying to do is create a culture of people that know how to find that in themselves. And not only that, but now know how to articulate it to help other people find it in themselves. Like this is the way that we create an army of light workers.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. Me.
When you were talking about that, I was just thinking when it comes to even like you said with the yoga and the way things are supposed to look, you see all these beautiful yoga pictures, and it's like, yeah, but how does that feel in your body? It doesn't feel great. And I did some somatic yoga teacher training with some trauma and stuff. And sometimes when we have trauma. It doesn't matter if it's been an injury or emotional or whatever it is. Sometimes we get that disconnection with our body. So I say to people too, if you are going through something, sometimes you don't necessarily know which is your left and right hand. And if you've been to any of my classes, you know I mess it up all the time. Left, right, which one do we do again? Doesn't matter. So sometimes I'm even mindful of my language and I'll just say to some people, hey, just move one leg. It doesn't matter, left or right. It doesn't matter if you're going to be facing the same person or not. We're just going to move a leg,
Mhm.
right? And sometimes I will say lefts and rights, but then there's times when it's like, you know what? Let's just go with you can just move an arm, move a leg, stand, pick a leg, whatever feels good for you. I have more awareness of, especially if it's more trauma informed, you just give people permission just to move. And then always say, if this doesn't feel good, don't do it.
Yeah. And there's a perception in yoga that everything's like a hierarchy. Like the easy pose is beginner and it's simple to do in the physical body. And the hard pose is really complicated. There's something about this hierarchy that we have in our heads that I don't know, we watch people come onto the mat and always be striving for the most difficult version of the pose. And what we really need to be doing is to be doing the version of the pose that our body is asking for. And
Mm.
there are days that your body's ready and it wants to strive and it wants to push and it wants to go for that. "Ah, I can barely do this pose. It's difficult for me." And then there's other days that your body's like, "Baby, just support me." And our goal when we come to the mat is to not think of these poses in terms of a hierarchy. One's good, one's bad, one's better or worse, one's easy, and one's, superior. And instead of thinking that way, we want to think of it more as the variation of the pose that supports you best today. How do we know that? Your instructor will never know that. So, how, as instructors, can we find languaging like you're talking about that allows us to offer a variation without giving an insinuation that one variation is better than the other? Because we don't know. We don't know what's going on in that person's body that day and in that moment, and what their best decision is based on the intelligence that this body is sharing with them.
Yeah. I mean, that's why we do Tanasana with just the muscles because you'll start to shake. And then
Yeah.
when we do stork, it's like just standing with one leg, right? You forward or back or whatever, like balancing the stick. You can do variations, but it's not easy because your standing leg is now engaged. And I say to some people, even if you just put your toes on the floor and your heel is lifted and you're on your balancing leg and those muscles are engaged, that's hard. It's
Yeah.
gonna be hard because we are now working stuff that I can stand loosey goosey and I can lift my leg up, but I'm not doing anything. Yes, I'm balancing, but I'll fall over. I'm gonna hurt myself. But I said, when your muscles start to engage, now we're working. Now we're building strength, we're building balance, we're building a little bit of flexibility here. There's so many things that we're doing now when we're not just dumping into the joints. And then I said, if you can lift your leg up, go for it. If you can't, it's okay. And then we just keep moving into that kind of stuff. And I sometimes even teach walking, like mindful walking. We are actually heel to
Mhm.
toe, right? And it's methodical and it's almost mechanical. How are we actually walking? And with good posture? Because we see so many people, and I'm the same way. Sometimes I'll roll the shoulders forward, roll the shoulders back, chest is up. How does this feel? And then when I say to people like standing, because people say when I'm standing, I don't feel like I'm really tall. It's because your shoulders are hunched forward, one hip's pushing out, one shoulder's up, right? And it's just how we stand. So I said, if you start to squeeze your butt, what's going to happen? And you engage those glutes, this doesn't feel good anymore, right?
Hmm.
And then people practice that and, oh yeah, it doesn't feel good. So I said, you just have to be mindful if I'm standing at like the counter doing something, if I actually squeeze my butt muscles, oh, look, it doesn't feel good to hunch over anymore because
Mhm.
other muscles are engaging and we don't like that. So we have to stand a little taller. The shoulders want to then roll back because if the rest of the back is up, this doesn't feel good. Right? So it's getting that connection again and just having people being like, why am I not feeling good standing? What's happening here? Oh, because my glutes aren't engaged or my shoulders are running forward. But it's having that mind body awareness because people will complain, yeah, I've been standing for so long and I've lifeguarded, I've done things like I'm standing a lot and I'll be like, yeah, I'm not feeling great. And then I'm like, what am I doing? Oh, yeah, because I'm hunched over. That's why. And then when I have that connection, okay, walk a little bit straighter, squeeze those glutes, engage those leg muscles, heel to toe. Oh, now things feel better. Now things are engaging. Now,
Well, the mat is a place to come and bring your intention, bring your awareness. It's a place to come with curiosity and
yeah.
inquiry. So I love the fact that you're taking something that from the outside looks simple and you're breaking it down so that you can find the work in it. and it kind of bypass the compensation patterns, use some muscular neuroplasticity where the brain and body are connecting in a slightly new way. You're recruiting new muscle groups. And when we do that, we are helping break old patterns, whatever the pattern is, the hunching or the locked knees or the sore back. We're helping say to the body, do you see that this is the old pattern? And then with the movement and breath that we practice, we're offering the body an alternative. We're offering an option. And then as we come to the mat, it's the place for us to practice a new pattern. And it's the place for us to let go of the whatever the old story is that's playing out in our body and just sort of go, oh, like that doesn't have to be true for me if I don't want it to be true for me. So instead of us just accepting these issues that we have in our physical body, the mat's a place where we can come to question them, to find resolution to them. And yeah, that's the kind of yoga teacher I want to help create. I want to help create the yoga teacher who gets to guide you through that building awareness in your own body, building new neuroplasticity in your body, and creating new strength patterns so that you can let go of the tension and the grip and let that innate strength show up because you're recruiting your muscles the right way.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
brilliant.
And I think anyone who takes your yoga teacher training with you and Jody will become amazing instructors because you
Yeah.
both have such a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have 24 graduates from our previous trainings. We have 4 spots left in the one coming up at the end of September. And watching the graduates is, I can't even explain the amount of pride that I feel and just the idea of this ripple effect. Because when I chose to step into my first 200-hour teacher training, God, if I could have known that one day I'd be teaching teachers how to be teacher trainers, like how to teaching people how to be yoga teachers, I don't think I could have imagined that from the spot I was in at the time. And watching the ripple effect of my choice to kind of step into my power and then be able to offer that assistance to help other people step into their power and then watch that power go out into the world. Holy man. There is something so rewarding around seeing other people step into that role and the way they are offering and serving their communities. It's mind blowing and it's so freaking rewarding.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I
I
love
mean, I
it.
almost want to cry thinking about it because it's kind of one of our favorite things. Yeah.
Because obviously you're creating community through the yoga teacher trainings
Yeah.
and connection for those like soon to be instructors. Is there support afterwards for them? Is there ways that you guys keep connected?
Um, the Sister Science community has yoga teacher training is our live in-person offering.
Hmm.
And right now there's 5 other courses. So there is an opportunity to dive deep into yoga philosophy and do a whole year-long study of yoga philosophy. And again, my way of offering it is not to dump a whole bunch of theory into your head so that you can recite this yoga philosophy, but it is to get you to inquire how this applies to you in your life and how does it apply to you in your life right now this week. And then I get you to do exactly what I get you to do on the mat. How's it feel in your body? How can you articulate it? Can
Hmm.
you bring it to a call and share it? And then can you hear what other people are experiencing with the same thing? Because I want this knowledge to feel embodied. I want
Hmm.
you to understand this yoga philosophy as a lens through which you can live your life. Everything we do is around this principle of connect to you first. Can you give words to that feeling of connection? And it's almost like we're practicing using our voice, expressing our truth, so that we have the capacity to do that off the mat, outside of these courses, outside of these calls. So, yeah, you can practice yoga philosophy with me. You can practice emotional intelligence. You can practice this year human design. And we dig into the purpose, the year of your purpose, your dharma. And my main course is Ayurveda. So you have the opportunity to come in and do a whole year investigation into how you are in relationship to yourself through the lens of your Ayurvedic constitution. Yeah. So
Can you tell us a
tons of
little bit?
support, tons of support. And you don't have to do yoga teacher training and then do the other stuff. It can happen whatever order feels natural for you.
That's awesome. Can you tell us a little bit more about I can never say it.
Okay, so I'll spell it out. Let me write it down. Ayur.
Ayurvedic, right? Ayurvedic?
Yeah.
No, is that
Yeah.
pronounced right?
So
Yeah.
are you? So Ayurs. It means life, like it's like the life. And then Veda is science. And we hear that in yoga a lot, the Vedas, the Vedic text, and that's like the science of it. So Ayurveda is the science of life. And it is understanding how qualities are in you. Do you run hot? Do you run cold? Are you a busy, active person, or are you kind of settled and calm? The more you know yourself, the more you know what you need to balance yourself. So Ayurveda teaches you how nature's qualities are showing up in you: ether, air, fire, water, earth. So we use these metaphors to describe the qualities because they give us a good sensory check-in. Because you can tell something in you if they have the qualities of earth, they kind of feel solid and heavy and tactile. Or if they have the qualities of air, they're mobile and light and subtle. And we start to give the sensations in our body or even the symptoms in our body, we start to be able to check in with them, giving them, articulating them in ways that relate back to these earth elements. And when we do that, then all of a sudden, we're not so anxious about what the symptoms telling us. We don't need to run to seek all this external help from books and lessons and pills and whatever, all the things that we're being sold in this world. But you can just check in with yourself and you can figure out how I feel and what balances that. Lots of people in our society right now, we feel inflammation. We might not even feel inflammation, but that word's bantered around a lot. And Ayurveda starts to describe that as it might feel hot, it might feel burning, it might feel swollen, it might feel tender, it might feel painful, it might be red. Some of these words. And when we can use those kind of words, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, what soothes that? And Ayurveda starts to give us a toolbox to be able to soothe. If something's hot, how do we cool it down? If something's feeling prickly, how do we soften it? So there's a language we start to be able to use to create antidotes that come from lifestyle choices rather than pills and procedures.
Oh, that's great. And then is it the lifestyle choices? Is it food or is it like the mindset or is it a combination of things?
Oh my gosh, I love that question. So everything in Ayurveda comes down to your digestion. So of course it's food,
Mhm.
but it also has the philosophy that everything you consume needs to be digested. If you're listening to this podcast, you're consuming, you're hearing this podcast. If you see something, think of if you passed a car accident and you saw something that just creates a brain stain that you can't quite get rid of it. That's something that feels undigestible in your body. Sometimes you have a conversation with your mom, say, and some sentence comes out of her mouth that hits you the wrong way, or some sentence comes out of your mouth that you say to your mom that you're like, oh, and it feels undigestible in you. So the five senses are always watching the external world for us. and they're screening it and they're taking in all the things that we taste. So there's our what we eat, our food.
Mhm.
Taste, touch, see, hear, and smell. And all of that comes into our body and we need to digest it. And when our digestion works well, it burns hot and clean. We have full evacuations of the waste every day. Our body pulls the nourishment from it effectively, and no gunk is left behind. But when our
Mhm.
body isn't digesting well, gunk gets left behind and disease can build up. So, our whole point in Ayurveda is to be really discerning about what we allow in, what we
Mhm.
consume, what comes in through our five senses. And then, in addition, how do we create a system? How do we support the system that is created that knows how to distinguish between what's nourishing and what's not and help it get rid of the waste effectively in our bodies? So, Ayurveda gives us, again, a set of tools to be able to digest life well.
And to digest life well will depend on each person. So will different things affect different people in different ways?
Of course. Yeah. And again, like that's like you teaching to people and saying, how does it feel?
Mhm.
And leading them through the experiments, really, of understanding the effect of the cues you're offering in their own body. So I have 10 habits, and I will prescribe these 10 habits the same way you'll offer a cue on the yoga mat. And they get to experiment with that habit in their life to notice the effect that it has.
Mhm.
And then be able to apply that tool, then that habit as a tool in their life to, reproduce that effect whenever they want it or need it.
Oh, that sounds so cool.
It's my favorite thing.
And with this Ayurvedic course, is it one-on-one? Is it a group?
Yeah. Everything I do is small cohort deep dive.
Mhm.
So, yeah, this one it's online, it's a group. We have weekly calls. We come to the call with a check-in. Usually I'll lead a drop-in meditation. I'll ask a question, you journal it, you come up, you speak to it, you hear how it's affecting other people, and then we leave with a question for the week. So, yeah, small cohort deep dive work is everything I do. And
That's
most of the
amazing.
courses I offer run like with a weekly call, a weekly live group call. Yeah.
And then what happens when people are done your courses? Is there a way that they can still connect with each other, or do people still connect with each other?
Our very first group of yoga teacher trainees go camping together. I love it. And they've formed the kind of friendships now that will hold together forever. And I just saw a post go out where they're planning their next event together. And sometimes they plan things where they go away like on a girls' weekend and they each sort of teach while they're gone, or they each offer something during the weekend. So it's really cool. Yeah, my courses, it feels like the people who are in the community will take the next thing, will take the next thing. So there are people who have never left. They've been here for 8 years in the online community, and they just keep finding the next course. But the community also, we teach a couple yoga classes, there's a meditation class, there's a Pilates class. So there's stuff that happens online that's available to anyone. And right now, what I find is that everyone who's participating in that is somehow in a different course. The idea as we grow is to be able to, that could be a place where you could test the waters and you can just be in that beginning part of the community. It doesn't feel like that's where we're at yet. It feels like most people who are attending those classes are already ingrained somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes if you're already ingrained, you're like, all right, I'm committed.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you're committed, then you start to use your community as an anchor to keep you accountable, to keep you committed, to track progress with you, and a place to fall back on when you fall off, because we all fall off. Whatever our habits and routines are, we're meant to. We're meant to redefine them and change them even as we move through each season of the year, from summer to winter. What we're doing at 7 o'clock on an August evening is completely different than what we're doing at 7 o'clock on a February evening. So there has to be room for that change to happen too.
And then are all your courses like a year? Because I know you said that there was one that was the year of you, which is a year. And then the yoga philosophy, does that take a year? How long
Yeah,
are these? Yeah, they're all.
everything that I do is like deep dive. You don't get to come in here and just sort of sample. I am not a believer in the evening workshop or the weekend crash course. I think that lasting change happens slowly. I think that we're trying to create a paradigm shift. And in order to do that in our own bodies, we need time. We need to go at a slow enough pace that what's coming in has time to integrate. We live in a fast-paced world. We live in a world that runs on like a 30-second reset, and our bodies are starting to be addicted to a dopamine hit every
Mhm.
30 to 90 seconds. And my goal is to be the antithesis of that, that I'm not running a 30-day challenge even. I want this to be something for you that is a commitment to your long-term self.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to pretend I'm not dopamine addicted to my phone, just like everyone else, but I want and I have to continue to curate the antidote to that because connection happens when we choose to make it. And everything that this phone device does is designed to disconnect us. And so my goal is to create the communities that bring us back to that connection to ourselves.
Oh, I love that. I know you're doing your sister science with community, but what was it that you decided to create this community in the first place?
I don't know that I ever decided to create it. I think it happened. There's a
Mhm.
couple things that have happened to me as I've been creating programs. And one thing, very important thing that has happened to me is that I've made a realization that what is important is not what's in my brain. So, what is important is not how much information I can share. It's not how much detail I can profess to be able to give you. My superpower happens with how can I create a safe space for you to show up, for you to share your wisdom, because that's where the power comes in. This isn't the kind of education where it's like a teacher in a classroom writing notes on the board. You have to write them down, learn them, and then regurgitate them on a test. I don't know your answers. I am learning through Ayurveda and yoga how to use these tools on myself. What I want to be able to do is ask good questions so that you can create good experiments and go figure out how these tools apply to your life. And I
Mm.
think in creating the community is happening because I'm learning how to hold that space, how to create that container, and how to make the structure really solid and safe so that wisdom can flow through it. And I think that is, I found like a magic sauce there where I'm understanding this structure and the container and how to hold it. And that's my job. And then my job is to place a really deep, important question inside that container and watch what happens when you bring your wisdom and your answer to that inquiry.
Mm.
So, yeah. Does that make sense? I don't really even know except for the fact that it happens. Like it happens.
It does. And I think it helps connect people. You're going through this experience and they don't feel like they're alone.
Yeah.
And then when you ask them a question of whatever it is, and then their wisdom comes up, and for example, I feel something, or you gave me this habit, and this is what's happening. And then other people can chime in and be like, oh. Yeah, I didn't think of that. That's happening to me too, right?
Yeah.
So then you're creating that connection within the community of these are what I've experienced in when you're doing your Ayurvedic practices and yoga practices, and then seeing and comparing how other people are reacting and responding to it, right?
Because what you're often saying is you're often sort of testing it. You're like, well, I don't know, guys, but this is what's happening to me. And you say, I don't know if I can trust it.
Yeah.
And it's you saying that because the world hasn't taught us to trust our intuition.
Mm.
So we come here, we've done this, and we are sort of saying, hey guys, like, I don't know, but this is what's happening. Do you think this is real? And then the group goes, yeah, that's true. And then what happens is that as we speak it, our first reaction is often self-doubt, self-denial. I probably did it wrong, or this can't be as easy, it can't be as simple as this, or there must be some other explanation. And then as we go through, we start to realize, actually, no, like my intuition is right. And as you come to the call and you share your experience, and then others can affirm that experience, you start to go, actually, hang on, my intuition's right. So then trust builds. You continue to build trust with your own body. And
Mhm.
then you start to be someone who can reliably show up and honor and guard that knowledge, that wisdom. You no longer deny it. You no longer doubt it. And you own it, guard it, and you'll begin to speak it and use it to design your life.
And how empowering is that? That is so
I
amazing.
know. I know. And I just feel like we're also at a place in our world where it's necessary because the things we used to rely on to help us base our decisions on are crumbling and breaking.
Mhm.
And we are recognizing that we have doubt and lack of trust in those systems that used to serve us. And so if that's falling apart, where else are we going to go? And the way I see it, we go back to our own wisdom or we get lost because there has to be something in this world that we can trust and rely on. And I think everything that's happening is leading us right back to this. You. You've got that wisdom in you. You may never have learned it. You might not know how you know it, but in these practices, as we do these inquiries and experiments, you start to understand that you do know it, you can trust it, and it will guide you well.
Oh, that's amazing. You're right. We've been conditioned to go to school and you're conditioned to learn. You learn a certain way and think a certain way. And then when we get into just life in general and they're like, okay, now apply everything you learned. I don't know. I can't necessarily apply it all. But then when we see to trust ourselves, we don't know how to
Yeah.
because we never were taught how to.
Yeah.
Because the answer we thought was right was wrong on the test, or you have to explain why you think you're right. And if somebody doesn't agree with you, then you may or may
Wrong.
not have a good mark.
Yeah. We not only have we never been taught to follow our intuition, but we have been actively disconnected from it.
Mhm.
And yeah, it creates a really good commercial environment. And so there's lots of people who can profit off that disconnection. But I do believe that this reclamation that we are doing as we come to our mats and come to our yoga practice is a piece of it. And then for me, Ayurveda, the reason my company is called Sister Science is because they always say when they're defining Ayurveda, it is the sister science of yoga. These two
Mm.
pieces dovetail together. There's so many ways that they connect and overlap that they
Mhm.
support each other. And there's a really holistic framework then that gives us the vocabulary to build a tool belt that becomes our practical application of these philosophies, of these life sciences.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's great.
yeah.
Yeah.
You could tell that I could talk about this forever.
Oh, well, I love it because it's, I find it so interesting. I do. And I think anybody who wants to dive into this can contact you and learn way more. about
Absolutely.
all of this, the yoga
Well,
and Ayurvedic. So, what are you offering in September? What's coming up for you?
so the Year of You is the Ayurvedic Basic Habits course, and this is something that you can enroll in all year long. My ask is that you're there for 4 seasons. So whenever you enroll, say if it's August, we're in the
Mhm.
middle of summer season. I will ask you to stay in the course till the end of summer season next year. If you enroll in November, you're in the middle of fall season. I'll ask you to stay in the course till the end of fall season next year so that you watch your body through each season. You
Mhm.
watch how you are in relationship to the season around you. So that full year is important. In the fall, though, in September, I register all the other courses and then I just soak in for the year. So in September, you have the opportunity to come into what I call my year of expansion, which is a 40-week long book club on steroids because I give you, for example, the yoga philosophy course. You read a book called The Yamas and Niyamas. It's by Deborah Adele. And each week there's a inquiry question, and you come back to the call to answer that inquiry question. And you'll have heard the word ahimsa, which means nonviolence. So we spend 4 weeks on nonviolence. We move on and we spend 4 weeks on truth. We move on, we spend 4 weeks on non stealing. And here's where I'm talking about we're taking these ancient principles and we are applying them to everyday life. So that's one of the options. We are doing this year Atlas of the Heart by Brene Brown. She
Mhm.
offers 88 emotions, and we tackle 2 to 3 emotions each week. And we go away and go, okay, what's my relationship to anger, to grief, to joy, to fear, to humility, to gratitude? And we come back every week with expanding vocabulary for our emotional range. And when we can name something,
Mhm.
shame disappears from it. So as we expand our emotional intelligence, we no longer feel shame or judgment over our feelings, which is really powerful.
Yes. And I think even just naming the feelings, like putting a name to it, because sometimes it's, I don't want to say engulfed, but I don't even know how to word it. But when you're in these emotions and you're just like, I don't even know. I don't even know how I'm supposed to be feeling at this moment. And you can't even, there is just maybe too many emotions, or it's an overwhelming of emotions of I'm frustrated and tired and angry. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know how to word this. But I think then just stepping back and be like, okay, what is that core? What is that core feeling? Because I think some of these other feelings just get on top of it because there is that frustration of, yes, it's anger, but I don't realize
Yeah.
it's anger because there's so much other stuff on top. And then you just get frustrated. You're like, oh my God, why, what's happening here?
Well, in the same way, like a pain point in our body is a
Mhm.
message to us,
Yeah.
an emotion is a message to us.
Yeah.
So, what if sitting back and because so many times when we're mad, it's like, well, I'm mad and I have to try not to be. And what if we could step back and go, what is it trying to say to me? Why? How do I move through this? How do I interact with this emotion? It's a language, again, that we haven't ever trusted ourselves to learn. So, I mean, some of us have a really great articulate expression of our anger, and other people are really good at stuffing it down and never ever having any anger in their life. You know which one you are, but maybe you need to learn a new way to be in relationship with that feeling. So, anyway, that's one of them.
Oh,
Um,
I think that's amazing. Because, yeah, like I think more people need that emotional intelligence. I really,
it blows you away. Like it is the kind of week by week study. And because you drop in with 10 other people only, 10 people commit. So these 10 people become 10 people that probably know you better than your best friend because you're coming forth with an honest truth and an honest reflection, whether it is around truthfulness and a non-stealing and non-violence through your yoga philosophy, or whether it's around an emotion or this your human design. You're learning how to express and give words to things.
Mhm.
And that skill set serves you in every facet of your life. The other skill set that's serving you is the skill set of witnessing yourself.
Mhm.
Yoga asks us to become a witness to ourselves. Yoga asks us to understand that you are not your thoughts and to drop into the layers of your being beyond just what you think. And so that skill set comes off the mat with you and into your relationships and into your relationship with the world around you, the family, the community, and yourself. So changes happen when you choose to really get to know yourself. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fun.
Oh, I think everyone needs to do the emotional intelligence one.
We offered it 2 years ago. So we piloted that book 2 seasons ago. And yeah, the 10 women that did it gave it a 10 out of 10. So this year we did the kleshas, which is more yoga philosophy, and it is the ways you cause your own suffering. So
Mm.
it was a pretty big, meaty year. And I think we're going to put that one on the shelf for a while because there was some layers in there that are hard.
Yeah. I think starting off small with just naming our emotions and how we feel might be.
Mhm. Yeah. And to be fair, that group that did the kleshas, they're experts. So this way of being in relationship is something they are good at. The structure is something they're familiar with, and the safety they feel within it is already guaranteed. And so we can go really hard places,
Mhm.
like the ways you cause your own suffering.
Yeah.
But that book's not on the itinerary this year.
And then you were talking about a little bit about human design. For those
Mhm.
who do not know what human design is, what is human design?
I'm not actually teaching this course this year. It's inside the Sister Science
Okay.
community. It's being taught by Chelsea Beta, and I am taking it. So, this course is based on your natal chart. You'll tell Chelsea when, where you were born, the time and date and place, and you'll get your natal chart. And same way we do the other two courses, for 40 weeks, we're going to examine one little tiny aspect of it
Mhm.
and use it as a lens to understand our innate design. And so, the same way Ayurveda gives us language to come to understand our innate design, our constitution, human design has a formula for prescribing your constitution as well. Yeah,
That sounds amazing.
I know it's going to be lots of fun.
I think it's nice to be able to learn a little bit more about yourself. I've done a little bit of
Yeah.
human design, so I know what it is, but for those listeners who have no idea, so human design, just a quick little background, it's pretty much a combination of the I Ching, astrology, and the chakras, really. And it's got like a little map of your body and your chakras, and there's gates and all sorts of things, but people will hold, depending on where you were born and time of birth, certain chakras will be open, certain chakras have gates. You hold certain emotions. For example, like for myself, I hold a lot of stuff in the sacral chakra, which then leads to, say, for example, your kidneys. And you have gates and channels that are gateways to the kidneys, and then the kidneys represent certain things. So that's a really, really simple breakdown of.
Yeah. So you can tell by what you just said that we need 40 weeks to actually
Yeah,
understand it because
yeah,
there's a complexity to it that
yeah.
requires us to be in deep relationship with it. And again, I go back to everything I do is about slowing down, being present, and knowing yourself. Because that connection and your ability to be in connection with your own deep wisdom is my ultimate goal. And whatever avenues, whatever portals of entry, and whatever support I can find that helps fortify your connection to you becomes part of the sister science community. Because
Mhm.
we need as many ways as we can to learn how to trust ourselves, to learn how to live from our own innate wisdom. And that's our dharma, our life purpose is to live from that purpose, that wisdom.
Yeah.
And so everything I do has that ultimate goal.
Which is amazing. And I think even with human design, it's also another confirmation because I know as we were talking about with the community, there's confirmation. So within the human design, they do have some archetypes as well. I won't get into them, but at the end of the day, you kind of look at your archetype as well as the rest of your human design. You're like, oh, actually, that makes sense.
When you can make sense of yourself, you know what happens? Shame, judgment, and fear go away.
Hmm.
Because that thing about you that's always been true, but you've either never you've always denied it, or you haven't actually been able to see it, or you haven't acknowledged it, or you've always tried to solve it or fix it or be different. Instead, now it's an affirmation, just like you
Hmm.
said. So the more you know you, the more you can live from the powerful places that are in you. And you start to see the places where it's like, oh, I'm actually never going to be good at that. So then instead of trying really hard to be good at something that you're never going to be good at, you find ways to support yourselves in the areas that aren't your forte. You then can allow yourself to grab that support without judgment because you're
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah, you might be perfect at that, but I'm not. So I'm gonna support that, and I'm not gonna have any shame around the fact that I need help here.
Right. And just leaning it, like being able to lean in. As soon as you're talking, it's like I just got the words leaning in, right? We lean into what serves us, but then we also can accept that the stuff that, like you said, we're not so good at,
Yeah,
we can then reach out to our community within the sisterhood and say, like, hey, who can help me? Who can support
yeah,
me? You know?
100%. And I think that's what the divine feminine's meant to do. We're meant to be in collaboration.
Mhm.
We're meant to bring our unique skills and talents and mesh them together. The same way yoga and Ayurveda are sister sciences. We need to acknowledge that each of us is like a prong, is like a connective thread. And when woven together, just like Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, when each thread is woven together, it is this really strong, tight-knit fabric.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what community is.
It is. And I'm just curious because I know we talk a lot about like the feminine. Is this open for women? Is this open for men? Who is this community for?
I will say I've had one man come through the Year of You program, and he was absolutely lovely. My branding person cautioned me when I said the company name was Sister Science that it would automatically disclude men. What I would like to say is that this is about reclaiming a feminine energy in us.
Mhm.
I believe that feminine energy is in both men and women.
Mhm.
Women are more apt to join my programs, but there is absolutely nothing here that says a man is not able to.
Okay. Well, just wanted to know because I know some groups are directed just for women and
If you're
uh
a brave man who's ready to really investigate your feminine energies, then this is for you. I invite you to join us.
right? I
Yeah, the
love that.
structure can hold either gender.
Yeah.
The structure is strong enough and simple enough. The architecture of it is simple and it's tested. I've been testing this architecture for 8 years. So I understand how to run the process of the course, how to hold the calls each week. And you bring the brilliance.
That's amazing. So how can people find you, Jill?
Yeah. Look at sisterscience.ca. That's the website where everything sits. And if you follow me on social media, it's still Jill Novak dot Sister Science because so many people knew me through Jill Novak Yoga that I felt like keeping my name a part of it for a little while at least feels important until Sister Science stands on its own and doesn't need me to represent it anymore.
That's awesome. Is there anything, any last words that you would like to share before we go?
No, just thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about something that I'm passionate about and to expose this rich and powerful community, to give it more words, to practice being able to share and tell people what it is, because it is. It's that ongoing, can I be aware? Can I embody it? And then can I articulate it? And clearly, I'm still practicing it too.
Well, you did awesome. And thank you so much for coming and sharing your passions with everyone. And I will put the Sister Science website on the show notes as well as your social media links. So everyone will be able to find you. So thank you so much for being here today as my guest. I really appreciate you.
I really appreciate it too, Corinne. Thanks you. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you. All right, everyone. Well, stay connected. Have a good one, and we will see you next time. Bye. Thank you for tuning into today's episode. I hope today's conversation sparked something new and reminded you of the power of connection. Please like, subscribe, and share this episode and podcast with others, and continue spreading the message of unity across all walks of life. Until next time, stay connected.